Well, the winner would have bragging rights, not just for themselves, but in their respective sports. Once dominant, boxing is seen as seeing real competition for mixed martial arts. As evident from this event, people will pay big money when it comes to seeing their favorite stars. Now, in boxing, pay-per-view units account for a major percentage of overall revenue and fighters' prize money. This decade, 11 boxing and UFC fights have surpassed 1 million buys. Of those 11 fights, Floyd Mayweather has starred in 5. Conor McGregor has been the main event in 3 fights. Impressive when you consider McGregor made his UFC debut just 4 years ago. Now, the fight could garner more than 50 million viewers in the US alone. Promoters are claiming it will be available either online or on TV to more than 1 billion homes in 200 different countries. Well, for more on the business behind the fights, let's cross to Mike Bako, sports editor at thedailynational.com. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a bit more about how this unique fight came to be.
Well, if it was up to most of these fight fans, this fight would have happened a year or 2 ago. You mentioned the boxing entities. You mentioned the Mayweather camp, the McGregor camp, Dana White from UFC. There are so many entities adding in the extra layers of HBO, Showtime. You mentioned movie theaters involved, international rights, hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars at stake. There were so many pieces to put together, and it finally came together.
So, Mike, what then would a Mayweather win mean for the boxing industry?
I think it's, the sort of indictment of USC that it's more of a barbaric sport. It's not the science of boxing. But from a boxing standpoint, this is Mayweather's, final fight. He's not going to be that boxing, showpiece anymore moving forward. You mentioned earlier the number of pay-per-view buys, how people are migrating towards UFC. This is the swan song in many respects for boxing, and even from a crossover perspective, there aren't enough big-name boxers out there that you could even think about moving forward for the big pay-per-view fights. They're going to try to retread probably Mayweather. Pacquiao is on his last legs in terms of a fighter. So this is really the swan song for boxing and the swan song for Mayweather in many respects.
Now, you also have the much younger McGregor. So what would a McGregor win mean for the UFC and the future of boxing?
That would take it to the next stratosphere. McGregor is a true crossover. You're seeing fans, international fans, obviously coming from his homeland in Ireland, but I think the majority of fans in that arena tomorrow night on Saturday are going to be cheering for McGregor. He crosses over race. He crosses over age. He's really a superstar for this sort of me generation, this social media generation. Now, he has not acquitted himself well with some really despicable comments during a lot of these press conferences and this roadshow that they've put on. But in terms of popularity and in terms of a star that people have embraced for better or worse, McGregor is that star. So it would be huge for him to be able to win.
So as a package then, outside of his home country, how broad is McGregor's global impact in terms of both increasing global appeal when it comes to boxing and ultimate fighting?
Well, I think his appeal is born out of the fact that he is a global superstar. He comes to a fight like this. He is the draw. If Mayweather were to have put up another fight, we wouldn't be having this interview right now. We're talking about a spectacle as much of a fight. We're talking about a fight that if it was a movie and the revenue comes in at the clip that they are expecting, would be a top 5 all-time movie up there with Gone with the Wind and The Godfather. So this is beyond a fight. This is beyond boxing, beyond MMA and UFC. This is a global entertainment event.
Now, let's also look at the demographics of these fans, both in boxing and UFC. How are these demographics, these old and some younger, more millennial viewers, popularity of both these sports?
Well, one popularity of boxing will capture the consciousness and the zeitgeist. A few other fight was a bit of a bust. It was more of a boxing fight and a duel with the two combatants going back and forth, but there was not much in the way of action, certainly not much in the way of knockdown. So what people are hoping for with this fight, when they're plunking down their $100, which is a steep fee for a fight like this, they want to see action, they want to see drama, they want to see the celebrities in the front row, and quite frankly, they want to see the spectacle that is Conor McGregor. At any moment, you're not sure whether he's going to knock out Mayweather or he's going to try to drop kick him. That's what people want to see. He is the almost modern day version of Mike Tyson. You never really know what you're going to get when he walks into the ring, but you have to watch, you have to pay, and you have to pay attention.
Now, we know that this is the biggest fight ever financially and for revenue. So many different things involved, whether it's advertisers, the fighters themselves. Is this a sign of things to come for either sport, or can this really continue realistically at this pace?
No, this is a one-off. I'm sure a lot of boxers and a lot of mixed martial arts fighters would want this to be the new norm, these crossover fights. But you're really talking about a really one-time shot for them to get this right, because you are talking about a guy like Mayweather who has brand appeal. You do have someone like McGregor who, as I mentioned, is that crossover star. So this is very big, you know, in this moment for both of these organizations to acquit themselves well and actually put up a good fight. Because if there is a good fight, maybe on a smaller scale, on a smaller level, you may see some of these crossover fights, but certainly not at the level that we're talking about right now with this one coming up tomorrow night.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mike Bako, sports editor of dailynational.com.
Thank you.
Well, if you haven't had your boxing fill yet, check out our website at cgtn.com/America. You'll find behind-the-scenes videos, and we ask fans who they think is going to win the big fight.